Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. What if the money you desire is already yours, right now, in this very second? Not coming, not on its way, not one day, but already here. What would you feel? What would change inside you instantly? Because the truth is, the moment you shift how you feel, you begin to shift what you receive. Stay with me, because this might be the moment everything changes for you. Most people try to chase money, but chasing only creates distance. You don't chase what you already own. Think about that deeply. You don't wake up worrying about money you already have in your bank account. There is calm, certainty, and quiet confidence. That feeling is the secret. Wealth is not first created in your hands, it is created in your state of being. Right now, you may be looking at your current reality and thinking, but I don't have it yet. And that is exactly the trap. If you continue to think and feel from lack, you will continue to create lack. Your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner state. Change the inner conversation, and the outer world has no choice but to follow. So, how do you think like someone who already has money? You begin by shifting your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to get rich and start seeing yourself as someone who is already wealthy, not pretending but embodying. Ask yourself throughout the day, how would I think if I already had financial freedom? Then think that way, on purpose. Notice how a wealthy mindset feels relaxed, not desperate. It makes decisions from confidence, not fear. It trusts opportunities instead of doubting them. When you truly feel abundant, you stop clinging, you stop worrying, and you stop acting from panic. And strangely enough, that is when things begin to flow toward you effortlessly. Feeling is the key that unlocks everything. You must feel the satisfaction of already having money before it physically appears. Feel the relief of bills already paid. Feel the joy of buying what you want without hesitation. Feel the security of knowing there is always more than enough. These emotions are not fake, they are creative power. Your mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. When you consistently live in the feeling of wealth, your subconscious accepts it as truth. And once it becomes your truth, your reality begins to reorganize itself to match it. This is not magic, it is alignment. Stop saying, I will be happy when I have money. Reverse it. Say, I am happy now, and money flows to me because of it. Happiness, gratitude, and certainty are magnets. When you feel rich internally, you begin to notice opportunities, ideas, and paths that were always there, but invisible to a mind focused on lack. Think about your daily reactions. Do you feel stress when you think about money? Do you feel fear when you spend? These emotions are signals. They are showing you the state you are living in. If you want a different outcome, you must practice new emotional responses. Replace fear with trust. Replace doubt with certainty. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your state. Be grateful not just for what you have, but for what is already yours in your inner world. Say thank you for the wealth that is forming, even if you cannot see it yet. Gratitude tells your mind it's already done. And when something feels done, resistance disappears. Your imagination is not just for dreaming, it is for creating. Every night, before you sleep, imagine a short scene that implies you already have money. Maybe you're checking your account and smiling. Maybe you're telling someone, everything is taken care of. Keep it simple, but feel it deeply. Loop it until it feels natural. During the day, walk like someone who is financially secure. Speak like it. Think like it. Even your posture can change your state. When your inner world and outer behavior align, you send a powerful signal to your subconscious. This is who I am now. And once you accept it fully, reality must reflect it. Let go of the need to figure out how it will happen. The moment you try to control the process, you introduce doubt. Your job is not to chase the method, it is to embody the result. Opportunities, ideas, and connections will appear in ways you cannot predict. Trust that the path will reveal itself step by step. Understand this deeply. Money is not separate from you. It is a response to you. It responds to your beliefs, your emotions, and your expectations. When you change your internal relationship with money, money changes its relationship with you. It starts to come easier, faster, and more naturally. There may be moments when doubt tries to return. That's okay. You don't need to fight it. You simply need to return to your chosen state. Remind yourself, I already have it. Feel it again. Anchor yourself in that feeling until it becomes stronger than any external evidence. Consistency is where transformation happens, not once, not twice, but daily. Each time you choose to think and feel like you already have money, you are building a new identity. An identity is powerful. It shapes your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your results. You are not waiting for money to arrive. You are becoming the version of yourself who naturally attracts it. And once you fully become that person, the question is no longer if it will happen, but when, because it is already done in your inner world. So right now, take a deep breath and decide. Decide that you are no longer someone who lacks. Decide that you are already abundant. Feel it, own it, live from it, and watch how your reality begins to mirror the powerful shift you just made within. Most people spend their entire lives thinking towards money instead of thinking from money, and that small difference changes everything. When you think towards something, you are automatically placing it outside of you, somewhere in the future, always just out of reach. You begin to say things like, I will have it one day, or I'm working toward it, and without realizing it, you are reinforcing the idea that you don't have it now. That feeling of not having becomes your dominant state, and life simply reflects it back to you in the form of delays, struggles, and missed opportunities. Now pause for a moment and consider how you think about things you already possess. You don't wake up every morning hoping your phone will appear or wondering if your bed will still be there. There is a quiet certainty, a natural assumption that it is yours. You don't feel desperate about it, you don't obsess over it, and you don't question its existence. That calm, grounded feeling is exactly the mindset you must adopt when it comes to money. It's not about forcing belief, it's about shifting into a state where having money feels normal. When you start thinking from wealth, your inner dialogue begins to change. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, you might think, this is easy for me. Instead of worrying about expenses, you naturally assume things are taken care of. This doesn't mean you ignore reality blindly, but it means you stop emotionally reacting to lack. Your thoughts become aligned with abundance. And over time, this alignment begins to influence your decisions, your behavior, and even the opportunities you notice around you. There is also a huge emotional shift that happens when you think from wealth. Scarcity creates tension, anxiety, and urgency. It makes you feel like you need to act fast, grab whatever you can, and hold on tightly. But wealth feels different. It feels spacious. It feels relaxed. When you think from wealth, you are no longer in a rush. You trust that there is always more, that opportunities will continue to come, and that you are not running out of anything. This emotional stability is powerful because it allows you to make better, clearer decisions without fear controlling you. Think about how different your actions would be if you truly believed you already had money. You wouldn't hesitate as much. You wouldn't overthink every small expense. You wouldn't feel intimidated by bigger opportunities. Instead, you would move with a sense of confidence and ease. And those actions, those small, confident choices, start to create a completely different path for you. You begin to align yourself with outcomes that match your internal state. Another important part of thinking from wealth is how you interpret situations. When something doesn't go your way, a scarcity mindset immediately jumps to conclusions like, this always happens to me, or I'll never get ahead. But when you think from wealth, you interpret the same situation differently. You might think, this is temporary, or something better is coming. You don't attach negative meaning to setbacks, and because of that, you recover faster and stay aligned with your desired reality. It's also important to understand that thinking from wealth is not about pretending or lying to yourself. It's about choosing a perspective that serves you. You are training your mind to operate from a place of possibility rather than limitation. At first, it might feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because your mind is used to old patterns. But with repetition, this new way of thinking becomes natural. It becomes your default. One of the easiest ways to practice this is through simple daily awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts throughout the day. Every time you catch yourself thinking in terms of lack, gently shift it. If you think, I don't have enough, replace it with, there is always enough for me. If you feel worried, pause and remind yourself of the version of you who already has financial freedom. Ask yourself, how would I think right now if I already had everything I needed? Then choose that thought deliberately. Over time, these small shifts begin to compound. Your mind becomes more focused on opportunities rather than obstacles. You start noticing things you previously ignored, ideas, connections, chances to grow. It's not that these things suddenly appear out of nowhere. It's that your perception has changed. You are now tuned into abundance instead of lack, and that changes what you experience. Thinking from wealth also affects how others perceive you. Confidence, certainty, and calmness are attractive qualities. People respond differently to someone who carries themselves with quiet assurance. Opportunities often come through people, through conversations, collaborations, and connections. When your energy reflects abundance, you naturally attract situations that align with that energy. At its core, this shift is about identity. You are no longer someone who is trying to get money. You are someone who already has it internally. And once that identity becomes stable, everything else begins to follow. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and eventually your results all start to align with this new version of you. So instead of waking up each day thinking about how to reach money, begin your day by stepping into the feeling that it is already yours. Carry that assumption with you in your thoughts, your decisions, and your reactions. Let it guide how you move through the world. Because the moment you stop thinking towards money and start thinking from it, you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Most people are waiting for proof before they allow themselves to feel successful, secure, or abundant. They say, when the money comes, then I'll relax, then I'll feel happy, then I'll feel free. But this way of thinking keeps everything locked in the future. It creates a condition where your emotions are dependent on circumstances. And because those emotions never fully arrive, the circumstances don't change either. You remain stuck in a cycle of waiting, hoping, and chasing something that always feels just out of reach. Now consider reversing that pattern completely. What if the feeling comes first and the physical result follows? This is where everything shifts. Your emotions are not just reactions, they are signals. They communicate to your mind what is real, what is important, and what should be created more of. When you consistently feel lack, stress, or worry, your mind accepts that as your reality and continues to produce experiences that match it. But when you consciously choose to feel abundance, even before you see it, you begin to send a completely different message. Think about the feeling of having enough money. It's not just about numbers, it's about relief. It's about waking up without pressure, making decisions without fear, and living without constant mental noise about bills or limitations. That feeling is light, calm, and expansive. Now here's the key. You don't need physical proof to experience that feeling. You can generate it within yourself right now by focusing your attention and imagination in the right way. At first, your mind might resist. It might say, this isn't real or you're just pretending. That's natural because your mind is used to relying on external evidence. But if you persist, something interesting begins to happen. The feeling starts to become familiar. It stops feeling fake and starts feeling like a possibility, then a probability, and eventually a natural state of being. This is when the shift begins to take root. One powerful way to access this feeling is through memory and imagination. Think about a time when you felt truly at ease, when you weren't worried about anything. Maybe it was a small moment, but the feeling was real. Now amplify that feeling and connect it to the idea of financial freedom. Imagine that same ease, but this time it's because everything is taken care of. Let your body feel it, not just your mind think about it. The body plays a huge role in this process. Emotions are not just thoughts, they are physical sensations. When you feel stressed about money, your body tightens, your breathing changes, and your energy contracts. But when you feel abundant, your body relaxes, your breathing becomes steady, your shoulders drop, and there is a sense of openness. By consciously shifting your body into a relaxed state, you can actually help trigger the emotional state of abundance. It's also important to understand that feeling abundance does not mean ignoring your responsibilities or acting carelessly. It simply means you stop attaching negative emotions to your current situation. You can still take action, pay bills, and make decisions, but you do it from a place of calm and confidence instead of fear. That difference in emotional state completely changes the quality of your actions and the results they produce. When you consistently feel like you already have money, you begin to behave differently in subtle ways. You stop making desperate choices. You stop settling for less than you deserve. You become more open to opportunities because you are no longer focused on survival. This shift in behavior is natural. It doesn't feel forced. It comes from the fact that your internal state has changed. Another important aspect is trust. Feeling abundance requires a level of trust that things are working out for you, even if you cannot yet see how. This trust is not blind, it is cultivated through repetition. Every time you return to the feeling of "it's already done," you strengthen that trust. And over time, it becomes easier to stay in that state, even when external circumstances try to pull you back. You may still have moments of doubt, and that's okay. The goal is not to eliminate doubt completely, but to reduce its influence. When doubt arises, you don't fight it. You simply shift your attention back to the feeling of abundance. You remind yourself of the state you have chosen to live in. With practice, this becomes quicker and more automatic. Consistency is what makes this work. Feeling abundant once or twice will not create a lasting change, but feeling it daily, even for a few minutes at a time, begins to reprogram your subconscious mind. It starts to accept abundance as your new normal. And once something feels normal, your mind works to maintain it. This is when external changes begin to occur more naturally. Over time, you may notice that opportunities start to appear in unexpected ways. Ideas come to you more easily. People respond to you differently. Situations that once felt blocked begin to open up. It might seem like coincidence, but it is actually alignment. Your inner state is now matching the reality you desire, and so your outer world begins to reflect it. The most important thing to remember is that your feelings are within your control. You don't have to wait for permission from the outside world to feel good, secure, or abundant. You can choose those emotions, practice them, and strengthen them every day. And as you do, you begin to step into a version of yourself who naturally attracts the experiences you once felt were out of reach. So instead of waiting for money to arrive so you can finally feel free, flip the process. Feel free now. Feel secure now. Feel abundant now. Let those emotions become your foundation. Because when you master the ability to feel it before you see it, you are no longer dependent on circumstances, you are creating them. Most people focus on changing their circumstances without ever changing who they believe they are, and that is why their results keep repeating. You can learn new strategies, try new methods, and work harder than ever, but if your identity remains the same, you will eventually return to the same financial reality. Identity is the foundation of everything. It quietly controls your thoughts, your reactions, your decisions, and the limits you place on yourself. If you still see yourself as someone who struggles with money, that belief will shape every move you make, often without you even realizing it. Right now, you may be carrying an identity that was built over years, through past experiences, family beliefs, and repeated outcomes. Maybe you've told yourself, "I'm not good with money," or "it's hard for me to succeed financially." These statements may feel true because you've seen evidence of them, but they are not permanent facts. They are simply patterns that have been reinforced over time. The moment you decide to change your identity, you begin to break those patterns and open the door to a completely new version of yourself. Shifting your identity is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about choosing who you are becoming and aligning your inner world with that version. Instead of seeing yourself as someone trying to get rich, you begin to see yourself as someone who naturally attracts and manages wealth. This is a subtle but powerful shift. You are no longer chasing something outside of you, you are embodying something within you. When your identity changes, your thoughts begin to change automatically. A person who identifies as wealthy does not constantly think about lack or worry about every expense. Their mind operates differently. They expect things to work out. They trust their ability to create opportunities. They see challenges as temporary, not permanent. By adopting this identity, you begin to think in ways that support abundance rather than limit it. Your behavior also starts to shift when your identity changes. You begin to carry yourself differently. You speak with more certainty. You make decisions with more confidence. Even small actions, like how you spend, how you invest your time, or how you respond to opportunities, start to reflect your new identity. These changes may seem minor at first, but they compound over time and lead to completely different outcomes. One of the most powerful ways to shift your identity is through repetition of new beliefs. Instead of repeating old thoughts like, I can't afford this, or this is too hard, you consciously replace them with thoughts that align with your new identity. You might say, money flows to me easily, or I always find a way to succeed. At first, these thoughts may feel unfamiliar, but with consistency, they begin to take root in your subconscious mind. Another important part of identity is how you respond to setbacks. When you see yourself as someone who struggles, any failure feels like confirmation of that belief. But when you see yourself as someone who is wealthy and capable, setbacks are simply part of the process. They don't define you, they refine you. This shift in perspective allows you to stay consistent and keep moving forward, even when things don't go perfectly. Your environment and the people around you can also influence your identity. Pay attention to the conversations you engage in and the ideas you expose yourself to. If you are constantly surrounded by negativity or limitation, it becomes harder to maintain a new identity. But when you intentionally expose yourself to empowering ideas and supportive environments, it becomes easier to reinforce the version of yourself you are creating. It's also important to act as if in small, realistic ways. This doesn't mean spending money recklessly or pretending to have something you don't. It means aligning your actions with the mindset of someone who is already financially secure. For example, you might organize your finances more responsibly, invest in learning new skills, or make decisions based on long-term growth rather than short-term fear. These actions reinforce your new identity and make it feel more real. Over time, your new identity begins to feel natural. It no longer feels like something you are trying to maintain. It becomes who you are. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions start to align effortlessly. And as this alignment strengthens, your external reality begins to reflect it. Opportunities appear, income grows, and situations shift in ways that match your internal transformation. There may still be moments when your old identity tries to resurface. This is normal, especially in the beginning. The key is not to fight it, but to gently redirect yourself back to your chosen identity. Remind yourself of who you are becoming. Reconnect with the thoughts and feelings that support that version of you. Each time you do this, you weaken the old patterns and strengthen the new ones. Understand that identity is not fixed, it is fluid. You have the ability to redefine yourself at any moment. The version of you who struggles with money is not your final form. It is simply a chapter, and when you consciously choose a new identity, one that is aligned with abundance, confidence, and success, you begin to step into a completely different reality. So instead of focusing only on getting more money, focus on becoming the person for whom money is natural. Build that identity in your mind first. Think like them, feel like them, act like them in small ways every day. Because once you truly become that person internally, The external world has no choice but to reflect it back to you. Most people underestimate the power of imagination because they treat it like entertainment instead of creation. They daydream randomly, worry unconsciously, and play negative scenarios without realizing they are using the same mental faculty that could transform their life. Your imagination is not just a place where thoughts happen, it is a workshop where reality is quietly designed. Every outcome you experience externally has, in some form, already been accepted internally through repeated images and feelings. When you begin to use imagination deliberately, everything changes. Instead of letting your mind wander into fear or doubt, you give it direction. You choose a specific scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled, and you return to that scene again and again. This is not about long, complicated visualizations. In fact, simplicity is the key. A short, clear moment that feels real is far more powerful than an elaborate story that feels distant or forced. For example, imagine holding your phone and seeing your bank balance at a level that brings you peace. Or imagine a close friend congratulating you on your financial success. It could even be something as simple as sitting comfortably and thinking everything is taken care of. The exact scene doesn't matter as much as the feeling it generates. The goal is to create a moment that your mind can accept as natural and believable. The real power comes from repetition. One time is not enough. You must return to this chosen scene daily, especially in moments when your mind is calm and receptive. Right before sleep is one of the most effective times because your subconscious is more open and less critical. As you replay the scene, focus on the sensory details. What do you see? What do you hear? How do you feel in your body? The more vivid and emotionally engaging it becomes, the more impact it has. At first, it might feel like you're just imagining without any real effect, but something subtle is happening beneath the surface. Each time you repeat the scene, you are impressing it onto your subconscious mind. You are teaching your mind what is normal for you. And once something feels normal internally, your mind begins to look for ways to express it externally. This is how imagination moves from thought into reality. It's also important to stay consistent with the same scene rather than constantly changing it. When you jump from one idea to another, you dilute your focus. But when you stick with one clear image and repeat it daily, you build emotional depth and familiarity. Over time, the scene begins to feel less like imagination and more like a memory. That's when it starts to carry real power. During the day, your imagination can also be used in smaller moments. If you find yourself worrying about money or thinking negatively, pause and gently replace that thought with your chosen scene. Even a few seconds of returning to that mental image can shift your emotional state. You are training your mind to move away from lack and into abundance again and again until it becomes automatic. Another key part of this practice is feeling. If you imagine something without emotion, it remains weak and ineffective. But when you feel it deeply, when you allow yourself to experience the satisfaction, relief, and joy of already having money, that feeling acts as a signal to your subconscious. It tells your mind, this is real, this matters. And your mind responds by aligning your thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions with that feeling. You may notice that your reactions to everyday situations begin to change. Things that once triggered stress may no longer affect you as strongly. You might feel more confident, more at ease, and more open to possibilities. This is a sign that your internal state is shifting. You are no longer being controlled by your external circumstances. You are beginning to influence them. It's also important not to force the process. Imagination works best when it feels natural and enjoyable, not like a task you have to complete perfectly. If you find yourself getting frustrated, step back and relax. The goal is not perfection. It is consistency and emotional connection. Even a few minutes of genuine, focused imagination each day can create powerful changes over time. Trust plays a major role here as well. You may not see immediate results, and that can be challenging. But just like planting a seed, the process happens beneath the surface before anything becomes visible. Your job is to continue nurturing the inner image with attention and feeling, without constantly digging it up to check if it's working. Trust that what you are building internally is taking shape. As you continue this practice, you will start to notice that ideas come to you more easily. You may feel inspired to take certain actions or explore new opportunities. These are not random, they are part of the bridge between your imagination and your physical reality. Follow them with confidence, knowing they are aligned with the version of you have been creating internally. Over time, the line between imagination and reality begins to blur. What once felt like a distant possibility starts to feel inevitable. You carry the feeling of already having money with you, not just during your visualization sessions, but throughout your day. And when that feeling becomes stable, your external world begins to reflect it in ways that feel natural and effortless. So instead of using your imagination to worry or doubt, begin using it with intention. Create a simple scene that represents your fulfilled desire. Feel it as real. Repeat it daily. Let it become familiar. Because when you train your mind to live in the experience of already having what you want, you are no longer waiting for life to change. You are quietly creating the conditions for it to unfold. Most people don't fail because they lack desire or ability. They fail because they lack consistency in their inner state. They may feel motivated for a day or two, they may think positively for a short time, but the moment reality doesn't change immediately, they fall back into doubt. That inconsistency sends mixed signals to the mind. One moment you are aligned with abundance, the next moment you are reinforcing lack. And when this pattern repeats, the results remain unstable. Consistency is what transforms a temporary feeling into a permanent identity. It is not about being perfect every second of the day, but about returning to your chosen state again and again, no matter what is happening around you. Think of it like building a habit. At first, it requires effort and awareness. You have to catch your thoughts, redirect your emotions, and consciously choose how you respond. But over time, with repetition, it becomes natural. Doubt will come. It is part of the process. Your mind has been conditioned for years to think in a certain way, and it will not change overnight. Old thoughts may resurface, especially when you face challenges or when things don't seem to be moving as quickly as you expect. But doubt only has power if you accept it as truth. The moment you recognize it as just an old pattern, you can choose not to engage with it. Instead of fighting doubt, learn to observe it. Notice when it appears, but don't let it control your state. Gently bring your focus back to the feeling of already having what you desire. This is where consistency becomes powerful. Each time you return to your chosen state, you weaken the old patterns and strengthen the new ones. It's not about eliminating doubt completely, it's about reducing its influence over time. Your external reality will not always immediately reflect your inner changes, and this is where most people give up. They look at their current situation and think, nothing is working. But what they don't realize is that reality often lags behind your internal state. Just because you don't see results yet doesn't mean nothing is happening. The shift begins within, and the outer world follows in its own time.